We're going to call this Jets Watch because it's not Jets Watch, but we are going to talk about those Jets. And boy, oh boy, I love being right. I mean, there's nothing that people haven't figured out already. This has been a ongoing disaster for the last 24 years. It's nothing new. Anybody who's a Jets fan, follows the Jets, follows New York sports, they know that Woody Johnson has been an absolute disaster. He's a meddling owner. It's one thing to be a guy that owns the team and you cut the checks and you're not hiring the right people to run the front office. Obviously, you're going to take the blame because you're the owner. There's another thing about you hiring the person and then meddling in it and destroying and not even allowing these people to actually do their jobs fully. Well, Woody Johnson is the epitome of that. So there's a whole bunch of stories that have been going, in the media now that have been leaked. And the question is why? I'm going to get to that in a second. But let's go ahead and go dissect through these stories, shall we? Now, give credit to Zach Rosenblatt, Diana Rossini, and Michael Silver. They wrote their piece on The Athletic, or in The Athletic, about Woody Johnson and his crazy, crazy stories pertaining to Jets. Let's see. I'm going to go through it. We've heard about the whole Jerry Judy Madden situation where his teenage sons playing the game. Woody Johnson sees the ratings of the player and decides to nix the trade because he believes that the guy's Madden rating was too low. So you're an owner of a professional football team and you are making decisions based on a video game because the person's rating was too low. Not realizing he doesn't even know who Jerry Judy is. But here's my particular question. Where's the GM? If I hire you to do a job, if I'm Joe Douglas in that situation, I'm like, why are you coming down here? You hired me to be the general manager. Why do I need to talk to you about it? You don't know shit about football. It'd be one thing if you're talking to Robert Kraft, right? Woody Johnson knows nothing about, all he knows about is baby oil and powder. And being the ambassador that he no longer is. The Trump didn't even give him another spot. Why? I wonder why. Huh? This idiot. I'm not going to mince words here. He is an idiot. So that's one story. The whole Jerry Judy thing, right? Then we have a story of Mike White steps in for Zach Wilson, right? Mike White was the guy that was actually playing better in practice, so they decided to give Mike White the job. Mike White ended up getting a really, really bad rib injury, broke a couple of ribs, and was out. He was in and out of the lineup for a few. And there's a rumor, or there's a story here that said that Woody Johnson cursed at Mike White and told him how much he sucked after playing through broken ribs. He has his sons in the locker room that when Robert Saleh got fired and the interim coach, Jeff Ulbrich, was there and they got their first win, he got his first win as a head coach, Aaron Rodgers had plans to give that game ball to Jeff Ulbrich. Because they always do that. You see that in the videos. Hey, game ball. Everybody rushes them, right? Put the Gatorade on them. And, the water bath, all that shit, right? But no. One of the stupid ass kids takes the ball and gives it to Garrett Wilson. What are we doing? This is what we do? You have your kids in the draft room giving you advice?
Taking calls.
Taking calls?
Someone.
Making calls? There's some stories out there that Joe Douglas said that he has to answer to a teenager. You know, I don't mean to be mean. I don't. But just like I said last week, Helen Assassins, that I am mean when I have to be. In a situation like this, when you have your two idiot teenage kids trying to be a part of your football franchise that you yourself have no idea what the fuck you're doing, we have problems. And when you have your son, Brick Johnson, making decisions, you know, the only Brick that I know, the only Brick I've ever heard, right, in regards to a person, is Brick Tamlin from what's it called? Anchorman. You know who Brick Tomlin is? In the movie, he portrays an idiot. So, foreshadowing Mr. Brick Johnson's life as an 18-year-old kid that has no idea what the hell is going on with football, you've been past that because your father passed that on to you. He's an idiot, and so are you. And it's the sad part is that when you have to deal, it's like being at a job, right? And you know that your boss is an idiot. You can't say anything, but you know they're dumb. And then you see their family come in there, and then they have people that want to talk to you about how the fuck to do your job, right? Mind you, they're never there, but they got something to say. You have no idea how the company works, but yet you have something to say to me. If I was Joe Douglas, I'd have quit years ago. How do you allow this man to fire you and embarrass you mid-season? You should have quit. I don't see how anybody who's worth anything would work for somebody like Woody Johnson. Because you want to be able to say, my owner understands what's needed to be able to help us succeed. Why would you go work for somebody who's going to come down there and say, first of all, my kid wants to say, get him out of here. The grown-ass men, they ain't got clothes on. What you got your kid in here for? What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't see how any players are ever coming to the Jets anytime soon. Who's gonna come here for any amount of money?
For what?
Yeah,
for what?
Looks bad.
Aaron, there's speculation out there that Aaron Rodgers and Woody Johnson have a rift. What gave it away? Was it the fact that Woody Johnson came down after week 4 and said, we should bench Aaron Rodgers? The fucking team was, what were they, 3-1 at that point? 2-2?
I think so, yeah.
You gonna bench your quarterback at 2-2? He's an idiot. Bill Belichick, who's hated Woody Johnson for decades, actually said, you know what? Let me gauge to see what the Jets are looking at, to see if there's some interest here in regards to getting me on board. They didn't even call him back. That's Bill Belichick. So who do I trust Woody Johnson to be able to hire? As a Jets fan, you feel lost right now. This has similar feelings as Met fans with the Wilpons. The only difference is, this is where I'll give the Wilpons credit. They weren't as dumb as Woody Johnson. At least they would put people in charge that were smart. They had Sandy Alderson for a while. Sandy was pretty good. He was all right. Right? You had Steve Phillips. Yeah, you had some good people that were there. Woody Johnson is an idiot. I have never seen an owner this dumb in any sport. People used to criticize James Dolan all the time owning the Knicks, right? Oh, James Dolan is ruining the Knicks. No, he's not. All James Dolan did was write the check. Did he hire the right people at times? No. But guess what James Dolan said to himself? You know what? I finally got the right people. I'm just going to play the back and play my instruments in my band. Just going to move it to the side. Woody Johnson is reported that he goes around telling people to call him Mr. Ambassador. To what? To what? Now, all of these stories are out. It's funny. People are making jokes. But Jet fans are suffering. They are. It's bad enough that you're a Jets fan. But you have an idiot owner that is keeping your team from being successful. I don't care if Tom Brady was available. I don't care if Pat Mahomes said I wanted to be a Jet. It would never work. Because, again, your owner is an idiot. And this story right here is going to send shockwaves through the NFL. Because it's not something that every other owner didn't know. You go to the owners' meetings and everybody's like, oh shit, he's late. Everybody's here on time. And here comes Woody Johnson with a stupid white hat on. A stupid white Jets hat that he wears everywhere. Stupid, right? And he comes in there. I was waiting for Trump to call me because I thought I was gonna get the ambassador job again. They're just like, you weren't getting that job, Woody. Trump had one, he had you there, gave you that job, and he said, I can't have this guy here anymore. Even Trump didn't want you. And that says a lot. When Trump says you're an idiot, that says a lot. The owners around the league know that Woody Johnson is an idiot. They can't say anything because there's a brotherhood there, right? But if a reporter comes around and says, hey, anonymous owner, have anything to say about this whole Woody Johnson thing? Oh, boy, do I. You know the stories that I can tell you about what he's told me, about what his plans are for his idiot sons in that place? We go home and we laugh about it. It's a joke. So we would love for the Jets to be profitable, but we can't force them to sell. So here comes that scenario that I was telling you about earlier that I would discuss. What does this all mean? The last time we saw a barrage of stories like this was when Dan Snyder was the owner of the Washington Redskins Commanders football team. And we saw all the allegations of a toxic environment, allegations of harassment, the whole insensitivity around the Redskins name, where Nike was going to force to pull out if you didn't change it, right? All of these stories started to break. And then the email thing came out. And that's when they were like, oh, it's got to sell. We got to force them out. You see what's happening here? All of these stories are coming out. Why? Because maybe, just maybe, somebody's trying to force Woody Johnson to sell. If you can be able to create a firestorm around an idiot owner, and now the world is going to be talking about this for a very long time, it keeps his name negatively in the press, and that's not good for business. That's going to hurt your Johnson & Johnson baby oil, your powder, your Vaseline. Gonna hurt all those things, right? That's my angle here. I think that they're trying to get Woody to sell. And boy, howdy, would that make Jet fans happy. Finally, if they can get that idiot out of town, and him and his idiot children as well. Take Brick, my sweet Brick, out of here. And give the Jets a real owner and give them a fair chance to actually compete in the New York market. This is the biggest market in the world in sports, especially. And you have two failing franchises because you have two idiot owners running both of them. It's a disgrace. At least the Maras, they kind of know what they're doing, maybe. They knew that they wanted to keep Saquon, and the GM said, $3 million? No! It's too much. We've seen what happened there, right? Saquon is going to be in the top 3 in MVP votes. How did that work? Idiot ownership will sink your franchise. It doesn't matter who you have. It doesn't matter who's your quarterback, who your great players are. If you have an idiot owner, you won't go anywhere. Period. So, here's a scenario for you. Hypothetical. If the Jets were for sale, who would be at the forefront of buying that team? We would hope that it would be Steve Cohen. He has the money. He already owns the Mets. And wouldn't that be nice to have him do that and put the Jets back where they belong? In Queens, where they played for a very long time. They played 20 years at Shea Stadium and in Long Island. That's where they belong. But dumbass Woody Johnson built that stupid-ass stadium with the Giants that nobody likes. It's one of the worst stadiums in football. The turf is bad. The amenities are bad. I remember one time I went there and I went to go get a cheeseburger, right? This was the worst cheeseburger I've ever had. First off, the patty was not even like cooked all the way through. And they just slapped the cheese on top of it after, and the cheese didn't even melt. $13. $13. That is the microcosm. It's a microcosm of what the Jets are. They're a fucking disaster. And not because of the on-field performance, because I don't believe that this Jets team is that bad on field. But when you have that dummy up there with that white hat, and he looks like a goof, and he has his sons in the locker room dictating stuff, and you have reports out there that Joe Douglas wasn't happy with the meddling of with the children in there. How are you supposed to do your job when you have children trying to tell you what to do? What is this? It makes sense why we're, as Jet fans, we're laughing stock. Because you got the guy making the decisions and writing the checks that's the biggest moron in the actual organization. Sometimes you have somebody that's, he's a ball boy or somebody that does a lot. They're not really that smart. They're not bright. People like them. But when you have the owner that's the dumbest person in the building, that's deflating. Because you know that there's no end to the madness in sight. It's wild. And they need to see how they can be able to... Listen, he bought the team for what, $600 million?
Yeah, like $6
Sell it
or something, yeah.
So you get $7 billion right now. Sell it. That's good profit. Sell the Jets. Walk away. And make all the fucking baby oil that you want. And put Brick in charge of it if you want to. But leave the Jets alone. You've owned it for 24 years. And you've owned it. and made the Jets a laughing stock. They were bad before, but you made them worse. So I see the play. We're going to come back to this in a couple of months. And I'm going to be right here. And I'm going to say, I told you. I saw it. Jimmy says it all the time that I have some type of crystal ball when I speak. But I see things before it happens. That's all. I'm just a suffering Jets fan that wants change. I do. I remember that day when the Wilpons sold to Steve Cohen. I never thought that I would see that. Like, it didn't feel real that somebody else was going to own the Mets. It's coming. And Jet fans are going to celebrate in the streets. I'm telling you. When they can be able to throw batteries at Woody Johnson. That'd be great. Anyway,